Hey designers, Alex here and welcome to another live stream. This live stream is a continuation of previous week's live streams in which we tried to create this mobile app design in Adobe Xd. So in the first live stream we created this paper wireframe. In the last week's live stream we created this mockup from this paper wireframe using Adobe Xd. And now in today's live stream, hopefully we are going to create this design. This design is going to include a lot of different animations, but if we don't have enough time to create animations in this live stream, we are going to move it to next week's live stream in which we are going to create it. If you want to get this design, make sure to check out alexondesign.co. Link is going to be right here and in the chat. And speaking about the chat, I'm not going to actually be live streaming this live stream, but I'm going to be with you in the chat live answering all of you guys' questions. So if you have any questions during or after this live stream, make sure to post them in the chat. Today we are live streaming to YouTube, my private Facebook group, which you can get access to by going to alexondesign.co and joining my membership, and my Behance profile. If you have not already, make sure to check out my YouTube channel. Once again, link is going to be in the chat, and I post videos every single week about Adobe Xd, design, passive income techniques, and much more to my YouTube channel every single week. So if you're interested in content like that, make sure to check it out. And now before we jump into today's design, I just want to point out that I'm going to be using some images from Envato Elements. I'm going to show to you guys how that looks like. They are actually 3D models, but you can follow along if you join my membership and get this practice file. You can practice with this live stream using those images, but if not, if you're not a member of Envato Elements because it's a premium service, you can simply download any images that you have and simply position them like I'm doing in this example, just to get roughly the same sort of result. Of course, your results may vary depending on where you find your free images or premium images for that matter. I just wanted to show you this technique for showing to your clients, if you are a member of Envato Elements or of services, premium services like Envato Elements, just what you can show to your clients. So without any further ado, let me jump into our file. So here is our file, and as you can see, there is really not much to it because last week we created everything that you see right here. So now we need to create these images, and we need to basically create some colors, because as you can see, we don't have any color involved as of yet. So we have to place some of the colors right here. We have to play around with the look and feel of our app. So the first thing I'm going to do actually is to select these two artboards, hit Ctrl D, because I'm going to duplicate them, and perhaps I can double click right here and write in design here and write in design right here. So I know later, is it the design or is it the wireframe or animation? You can call it however you want. Now, because we created original components for this wireframe right here, I'm going to show you the method I'm going to use today, but you can use a different method because we are going to change this main component, for example, which is this one, and it's going to apply those changes to our design. The other way to do that is to create another component which is exactly the same like this one, and then create exactly the same layout from this component, and then change that main component to apply the changes throughout your design. What I mean by that is, if I, for example, jump in right here just to see if that's my original, let's see, no, that's an instance. Let's right click and see edit main component. Where it is? Here it is at the bottom. So check this out. If I jump in right here and change the color of my item BG, for example, to red, you can see that it applies across my design. So that's what I was going to show you. Is I'm going to edit this main component just to save ourselves a bit of time today, but if you want, you can recreate this exact main component to your design and then adapt it there if you want to keep the same look and feel of your wireframe. So with that in mind, let's get started. Now, the first thing which we need to do is to actually put in some color. And if you remember from the first live stream that we did a few weeks back, you can check it out on my YouTube channel, on my Behance profile, and also if you are a member of my membership, you can scroll down in my Facebook group to locate it there. But in that live stream, we simply explore different ideas from Dribble, for example, just to get our heads around different colors, different shapes, what other people are using in this niche. So you can jump back there and simply explore all of those colors, layouts, styles, and stuff like that. So today we are going to explore those layouts which I showed you in that first live stream which we did. So to get us started, what I'm going to do actually is change this to be something a little bit different. So instead of Open Sans, let me use a different font. So Archivo, for example. I like how that looks like. Maybe position it in the center, select these two. See that, make sure it's in the center. And now I need some sort of a color. And if you remember from that first live stream which I showed you, there was this blue color all around, which I really liked. So I'm going to take some inspiration from that. So 4597E7, for example. And now we have this nice blue color, and I'm going to jump into my document assets and simply add it right here. If you remember from the previous live stream, I told you that Adobe Xd didn't really recognize my fonts, although I have all of these fonts installed. I tried to reinstall these fonts and still it gives me this bug for some reason. I don't know why it does it, but it doesn't really matter. I do have all of these fonts because you can see this is Open Sans 20. So if I check out right here, so Open Sans, bold, you can see I have bold, regular, semi-bold. So I really don't understand why it doesn't see them right here. I also spoke with some of my students and they all told me that they can easily apply those fonts, so which is great, but I simply don't know why that happened. So let me go back to Archivo, which is this one, and I'm going to actually create a character style from it. I'm going to select this one, there you go. And now we need some sort of a light gray color, because this regular gray is a bit boring, a bit dull to use everywhere, because this was just a wireframe. I want to have some sort of a lighter gray color to use throughout my design. So I'm going to actually select that. So to do that, I'm going to actually come in right here and, for example, use this icon. And let's see, I'm going to jump inside and select a nice color. So something like this, or actually let me use this one. So CECECE, press enter, and you can see it's a nice gray color, nice light gray, which is this one, and I'm going to use that throughout my design. But actually let's go back to here, back a step. Now my undo doesn't work for some reason, but that's just the nature of XD. So let me jump in right here. I'm going to actually change this to blue and change this to gray, something like that. Then I'm going to jump into our background and I'm going to actually remove this border. I'm going to include a drop shadow for it. And let's see, I'm going to use the same one, so 336, but here let's use 8, for example, or something really light like that. I'm going to select it, hit copy, click right here, hit paste appearance, because I want it to look exactly the same. And I'm going to do the same like I did here. So select this one, make it blue, and this arrow I'm going to select to make this light gray color. So now we have the same style across our tops. So I'm going to close it and let's continue with that styling. So for this one, I'm going to use exactly the same styling. So let's select it, hit 5 for the corner radius, for example, because we have corner radius of 5 throughout our design. So let's now move on, and I'm going to actually select this, make sure it's this light gray. And then, for example, you can animate it later if you want to become this gray color or to become this blue color once it's selected. So once actually people start typing on it. But for this blank state, this empty state, I'm going to leave it like this. So for this one, I'm going to right click and say apply border color, which I think is good. And basically that's about it. I'm not going to bother with too many details here. So let's jump into here. I'm going to select these, make sure all of them are light gray, and then click Men's because that's going to be our selected one. And once again, make sure that it's blue. Now to save ourselves a bit of time, because now we have to edit all of these cards, I'm going to jump into that original card, which I showed you, and then we are going to actually apply changes to it rather than make sure to apply throughout all of our cards and then go one by one. It's much easier like this. I'm not going to repeat myself, but if you want to, once again, you can create another component for design and simply leave this look for your wireframes, which I would actually recommend, but for now I'm just going to edit this one. So first thing I'm going to do is remove the border. We do have this nice background blur, background shape, whatever. So I'm going to keep it, and I'm going to change a few things here. So first of all, I'm going to make this blue, and I'm going to use, because this is Open Sans 18, let me hide myself so you can see the font. I'm going to actually use bold like this for these, and you can see straight away how it changes throughout our design. So I'm going to use bold, and because that's our new character style, I'm going to apply it. You can see it doesn't recognize, doesn't see it. It says missing font. Even though I have Archivo Open Sans, I really don't know what it is. I have to contact Adobe just to see what that is. And I'm going to select this one, and I'm going to make sure it's this light gray color. And basically, I think that's it. I think we don't need to make any other changes. I think that's it. Let me check. Yeah, I like how that looks like. So we can move on with this design. And basically, if I take you back right here, you can see how all of this looks applied. So basically you just edit one component, it's going to apply to all of your other components, which is the beauty of these components. So now that we have our color, now that we have our style, we can continue and move on with the rest of our design. So I'm not going to bother with images as of yet, although I could. What I want to do is simply adjust the styling onto this one. So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to jump in right here, and let me hide myself so you can see the text right here at the bottom. So first things first, I'm going to leave this text where it is because I think it's good. And let's see, 2020. But the thing I want to remove is this pagination. And I want to remove the pagination because I want to include different cards that people can swipe with their thumb, basically. So I'm going to include some sort of a drag gesture just for my users to understand there are multiple cards here, there are multiple angles of this same shoe. So basically below this main shoe are going to be our colors, which you can see right here, it says select your color, but above it's going to be our selected shoe, and the selected shoe is going to have different angles. So how we're going to do that, first of all, I'm going to, as I said, remove this pagination. So let me hit delete on my keyboard, and because now we have 50 right here, I'm going to actually adjust that a little bit and make it maybe 30 or something like that, something like this. And then we can perhaps make this 30 as well. Let's see, 36. Let's see, 30. I think it's good. And then below, all of this text can be at 30 as well, something like that. And finally, we can maybe move this button 20, 30. Yeah, let's keep it here for now and let's explore a little bit later. So first things first, what I'm going to do is actually remove from my main image. I'm going to go into item BG and remove our border just to have the same styling as we have with all of these other ones. And I think that this shadow is just a bit strong. Let's try with 6. Because it's a bigger area than these areas. Yeah, I think 6 works just fine. And now for our selected one, what we need is we need to include border colors. So with this, what I'm going to do is come in right here and say apply border color, select this one, right click, apply border color, select this one, right click, apply border color, and finally do the same for this one. And I want to do this because later on I'm going to animate all of these, and once you tap one of them, it's going to apply that border color, but not all of them are going to be selected at the same time, so therefore we have to do it one by one. So that's why I'm doing that right now. And if I jump back into here, what I'm going to do is, because just this first one is going to be selected at the moment, I'm going to remove the border color from these, just hide them basically, because just this first one is going to be selected. But as I said, we still have to include it inside. Later on we are going to create component from this one, but for now we are going to keep it as I said. Now for these, for select the size, what I want to do is next, so for each of these sizes, if you remember, we have default state and we have selected state. So this is going to be that tedious bit of work. If you want, you can do that up front. So if you already have your colors, you can go ahead and apply all of these colors to your selected object if you want to. If you don't have the colors, like I purposely didn't include in the previous video, so in the previous wireframes, then once you have your color, it's always best to jump in before any animations, because that can really corrupt things later. So you can always jump in the design stages, so in this stage, and apply the colors that you want. So what I mean by that is, in the default state, what I want is quite simply to apply different colors. So I'm going to jump in, right click, apply border color, like you see right here, then select this one and apply the same color. Come in right here, right click, apply border color, select this one. Obviously it's quite tedious to do this, but what can you do? You always have to jump in and make these changes. As I said, if you already have your colors, if your client has provided those colors, that's fantastic. But if you don't, now you have to do all of these. Now what I'm going to do is jump into selected states for each of those, like so. Quite simply select all of them like this, and then jump in right here, and then select the background. Make sure it's blue and remove the border color, because we don't need the border color to be there once it's selected. So once it's this blue color, there is really no point of border color here, because it just shows that it's selected. Now we can go back to default states on all of them, because by default no size is selected, and then users can quite easily select their size. So for example, if I'm wearing 44, I'm going to select 44. And if you're wondering what this 44 is, if you're from the US, I was using European sizes, but you guys can use your own sizes. It really doesn't matter, just the main concept is the key right here. So after we've done that, what I want to do next is to select this one. I'm going to remove the border. Let's see, I like how that looks like. And finally, I'm going to click add to cart, and my bag icon, I'm going to make them blue just to make sure it's in the center. It is. And we are going to do some awesome fancy things a bit later with this button, but for now, I'm going to leave it as it is. So for now, I'm going to use the total, make sure it's this color, shipping, this color, and shoe, this color, like so. And I'm going to leave these colors as they are right here. So now finally, when we applied all of these changes, and by the way, this is just my method for this video, so if you don't enjoy it basically, or if you don't like this, you can go about it the other way. You can include images and then sample color from images, and then apply those colors to your design if you want to. If not, then you can go about it this way. So it really does depend of you and what you like to do. So now what I'm going to show you are images. So let me find Envato elements. Here it is. So basically this is the website, and let me hide myself so you can see it just a little bit better. Basically Envato gives you the option to download stock videos, video templates, music, sound effects, graphic templates, all of these things. So if you are a designer, it's really an awesome tool to have. I'm using it every single day on every single one of my projects. If the client requests some sort of custom icons, for example. So I take icons from here and then I adjust them to make it a bit more custom to that particular project, for example. Or if the client doesn't have the photo set which they are going to use for their project, then I'm going to find images here. And in this case, we are going to use 3D, and I'm going to show you this. So basically, I found this object and they have this great render. So if I hit view 360 degrees render, why this is awesome is you can flip this shoe. So you can drag it to rotate it in any direction like this. And basically, when you're happy with your angle, let's say this one, you can download this angle in PNG or PSD. So why this is great, in PNG and PSD, you're going to get a transparent background. This image is quite large, so I would really advise you to cut it, to crop it. And I did that, but the trouble with that is the shadows are going to get cut as well. You're going to see that a little bit later, but I purposely wanted to leave it in just to let you guys know how this is going to look like. It's not the same for every object, depending on how the object is rendered. Usually you have this completely blank background, but somewhere around here on the floor, for example, so if you cut it right here, it's going to fill in the background with that shade. And what's great about this is, for example, you really like this shoe, so there are other shoes. So if I hit see more, here is exactly the same shoe here and here, just in different angles. So for example, I want to use this same angle of this shoe. I can hit view 360 degree render, and by the way, there are not just shoe. You can see almost 7,300 models of the men's shoe, but of course you can find you can search for anything you want right here. But if we see this render, for example, right around here, so you can see it's exactly the same right here. So you can use those. And if you don't, for example, I want to search for purse, let's say inside of 3D, you can see different purses, let's say watch, and these renders are awesome. You can see how detailed they are, how great they are. Or phone, you can see different phones right here, or I don't know, a laptop. There you go. Or if you want to search for a car, for example, because you need to do some branding, you can see some realistic cars, and there are also some cartoonish looking cars like this one, for example. So depending on what you need, and we need these for our project, you can find whatever you want right here on Envato Elements, and I will leave the link in the chat so you guys can access this exact image if you want to follow along and download from Envato Elements. So basically what I did is I use this image, for example, because this is going to be my main shoe. If I minimize this, so I'm going to put it right here, and I use that angle, and then, for example, I rotated it, so like, I don't know, like from the top, something like this. I downloaded that angle, then I went to something like this, downloaded that angle, then from the bottom, from the top, from the front, from the back. You get the idea. So you rotate the shoe, you download all of the angles that you want, and basically what you get at the end is something, let me position it right here, something that looks kind of like this. So I have my main shoe, I have all of my angles which I told you, and I also have main shoe colors, which is this same shoe but in different colors. And also I have these all shoes, so all of the different shoes which we are going to include in just a second, because we need our audience to be able to select different shoes if they don't want this particular shoe. So basically that's how we are going to do that. So let me go back to our project right here, and let me hide myself for a second, because we are going to now start including these shoes in. So first things first, what I want to do is I'm going to drag and drop them inside, because if you remember, we have item image for each of these, and we have item BG, which is this one. We are going to select and drop to item BG. There is no need to drop to the original component. We are now simply going to continue with these components. So first things first, from this folder which I just showed you, I'm going to go to my main shoe, which once again is this one, and I'm going to select this two-tone main, drag it, drop it inside, double click, and I'm going to simply scale using Shift, Alt, and left click on my mouse and position it roughly around here. something like that. And basically this is what I was talking about. This is why this is important, because you can simply position these images however you want. Now the next one which I'm going to include is that leather one. So let me go back into my folder and find it, drag and drop it inside, double click and scale it like this basically. So the next one is this, drag and drop it, double click, shift, alt and left click, because that's going to scale it evenly on all sides. Let's drag and drop this casual. So that's why I created this image placeholder, just because it's much simpler to drag and drop it inside. This fits, but I'm still going to reduce it just a tad. Then we have this black classic looking shoe, something like a Reebok or something like that. Then we have this high top. And of course you can do this with repeat grid, but because I have a layout in mind, I'm doing it this way. Oops. Scale it like this. And finally I have this shoe, just a touch, and I have this shoe. Let's reduce it as well. So there you go. Now that you have all of your shoes, let's now move on to the main shoe. And obviously I want to show them this angle. So for the main shoe, I'm going to select my product image and I'm going to go back to our main shoe folder, drag and drop it inside, double click and reduce it in size just a little bit to something like this. I like how that looks like. And finally select your color. So here we are going to include this same color, so this same shoe, drag and drop it inside. Let's reposition it a little bit to something like this, and now we can show all of these different colors for our shoe. So let me go into my shoe colors. So this is my folder, so Caracal, tan and white. I purposely named them like that, so it's much easier for me then to export all of my layer names and show to the developers what I meant in the design stages. So something like that. And then we have this tan, double click, shift, alt, left click. And finally we have the white, double click, shift, alt, left click. Like that. And now that we have all of that comes the tedious part, which is changing these prices. So I'm going to, let me check how long we are going. So we are almost at half an hour. So let me actually change these names. So I'm going to actually take them from my original design just to save ourselves a bit of time. So two-tone casual. This is going to be classic leather brown, and I was just going for some made up names basically. But if you're working with a brand, they obviously have their model names, they obviously have their prices, so make sure to include those prices which are right for that particular product. But I basically just went with what I see right here, some of classic like this, and finally high top. Let me check. So here, and we also have high top 10. And finally, let's go with modern and bold. Like that, and running 10. Let's check it out right here. And finally, let me change the prices. So for this one, I'm going to have, let's see, in my original example, I lowered them down a bit. So I'm going to have 78, that, and let me actually take the prices as well, just to save ourselves a bit of time. So this is going to be 89, like that. This is going to be 39, and you can go from high to low or whatever you want. I'm just going, I don't know, kind of randomly here. So 84, let's see, 49, like that. Once again, it's going to vary from your example to my example and to some other examples, what a layout actually makes sense. So you can position these how popular they are, for example, or you can position them from price, let's say high to low or low to high, however you want, or you can position them by sales number or however you agree with your customer. Basically, that's how you are going to position them in that order. And basically that's it. So now that we have these, let me actually go ahead and close all of these folders so they are not distracting me and confusing me, because that's what happens when I have thousands of these folders. You just don't know where you are at the moment. So now that we have those, we have this two-tone casual. So I'm going to jump in right here and let's see what we can do. So I'm going to write in, so two-tone casual, men's shoe. I cannot write today anything. So what I'm going to do next is I'm actually going to jump in and create duplicates from my image. So I'm going to call it a bit different. So let me see in my original example what I did. So I have my main shoe folder, and inside that I have my main image, which is this one. So let's group it one more time, Control V. I'm going to call it main image. And basically what I'm going to do is to this group, I'm going to apply stack, and I'm going to jump in right here, main image, Control D. So this is going to be main image 2, Control D. This is going to be main image 3, not 3, but just 3, main image 4, main image 5, and let's see, main image 6. Yeah, main image 6, like that. And basically this is how that looks like. So it's going to extend away from your artboard, but don't worry about it, because in just a second we are going to fix that layout and I'm going to show you how to fix it. So jump into your main image and simply click right here, and if I hover, you can see scroll groups. So when you click there, you can adjust this. So this whole area is going to be scrollable, and I already showed you that with our tabs. So if I preview it, you can see that we can scroll with our images. So therefore that pagination is really worthless. Of course you can integrate the pagination, but because of XD's current limitations, you cannot have the pagination and the scroll group animated into the same artboard. So what that means is you can use the drag gesture. So when you drag, you have to switch to another artboard. So in this case, we have 6 different images. So we are going to need to have 6 different artboards just to show pagination working below. So what you can do is you can discuss that with your developers and simply tell them, okay, in order for me to reduce the number of artboards, I simply created one artboard using this scroll group. Obviously, it's exactly the same gesture, it's exactly the same layout, it's exactly the same animation as it would be, but there is no pagination. So you can include pagination later in code and connect it with the scroll, but for now we are simply going to leave it like this because you can see it does work. What I'm going to do now is basically call this main image, like I did with these ones, and now I need to include different images. So let me jump back into my folder. Once again, these are all of my different images, so I'm going to unzoom a little bit. Hopefully you can see it from me. And what we can do here is, let's say, use the side here, and we can use the top next. Then we can use the bottom, for example. We can use the front, and we can use the back. Now let me hide this, jump inside each of them, double click, and once again Shift, Alt and left click to adjust them just a little bit, just to make sure that they fit the frame like this. Right here, adjust it. Obviously you can leave them big or small however you want, and of course for these ones you need to make them quite a bit smaller because it's just the angle, or you can position these into one image, one next to each other, if you want to save that extra scroll, if you think it's important. But I'm just going to leave it as it is right here because this is just a practice example, and obviously it's not going to be live at the end of the day. So when I hit preview once again, what you can see right here is all of these examples. So once again, we don't have pagination below, but you can have it if you want to. And you can see how that looks like. And this is what I was talking about. You can see how the PNG got cut off in some examples. It's fine here, but it's not really all that good here because of these shadows. You can go ahead and fix that if you want to, but I wasn't going to bother. I wanted to show you that how it looks like. Obviously in this example is great, in this example is great. So in just few examples you have to change it if you want to. But basically we have all of our examples done and completed. Let me see, what time is it? So 37 minutes we are running in already. Let me actually animate these. And then when we animate these, I think we are going to stop for today because this is going to require additional work in the next live stream. And this is going to require additional work. Once again, if you want to get anything which I mentioned today, you can join my membership and you are going to get everything which I mentioned here, including all of these images from Envato Elements. So if that's something that you want, you can jump inside and get those. But before we wrap up for today, let's animate this, select the size, and let me hide myself for a second because it might distract you a little bit. So let's jump inside of here and we have the sizes. So I'm going to hit Control K to create our component, and what I'm going to do is basically select and create new state, and I'm going to call it 41, press enter, another one 42, press enter, another one 43, you get the point, another one 4, and another one 45. And now basically what I need from all of these states is for all of them to show the selected size. So how we are going to do that? Simply default state, none of them are selected because what I mentioned is, yes, this is the default color because shoe has to have a color, but for the size it's really debatable. Are you a small child? Are you a grown man or grown woman with a big feet or whatever? So there are just too many variables to count in rather than just the color of a shoe itself. So for the color, I'm going to select 41, jump in right here and make sure I turn the selected on. Then for the 42, I'm going to jump in right here, turn into selected. For the 43, jump in and make sure this is selected. For the 44, jump inside, selected, like that. 45, jump inside of here, selected, and there you go. Now you might think that the animation is going to start right away, but it's not, because we have components inside of components. We need something which is called tap points. Xd has to have these tap points to understand what you actually want to tap. So do you want to change this from blank to color, or do you want to hit that to go somewhere else? That's why you have to create these tap points. So basically how we are going to do that inside of our default state, and you always have to make your changes in default state in order for them to translate to all of your other states. So I'm going to jump in right here, and where it says size BG, I'm going to hit Control C, copy it, Control V, paste it, and then do the same for these. So Control C, Control V, wait, so delete it, come in right here, Control V, move it on top of this folder, so second one, Control C, Control V, third one, so right here, jump in, Control C, Control V, right here, and finally Control C, Control V, or Command C, Command V if you're on a Mac, right here, and now click here, right in tap point. Just jump back to here, like this, Control C, select it all, Control V, Control V, Control V, Control V. And now that all of them are prepared, what I'm going to do is simply select all of them and hit 0 2 times on my keyboard to reduce the opacity all the way down to 0. You can see it from my head. So what I'm going to do now is start animating. That's why we created these tap points. So basically we have all of these states and we are in the default state. So when users tap right here, they are going to go to a certain state. So when I click right here, and I have to hide myself so you can see all of these, I'm going to use auto animate and I'm going to go to destination 41. I'm going to go ease out and let's say 6 seconds. I think it's fine. Don't worry because it says destination none, because check this out. If I click here and then here, it's going to show 41. So it's just another bug that XD has at the moment. Hopefully with the next update, they are going to fix that. So the beauty of XD is when I click right here and then select 42, as you can see, it's going to keep the same settings, still shows none, but if I click and then click, it shows 42. I don't know why it does that, but the main thing and important thing is that it works. So 43, jump in right here. I'm going to move it outside because I accidentally double clicked. 44, and then jump in right here, and 45. Now that we've done all of this, we have to animate our separate components. And basically what I mean by this is, because we have 41 selected in this case, we have to animate it out. So if I select 41 again, it's going to go back to the default state because I want to deselect it in case I want to select some other size. Because if you don't create this animation, basically what you're doing is making your users select two sizes. And the better way to do that is in your checkout. Perhaps you want to have additional one of that size, and then you can go into that one and change it later because it's much more different. For example, it's extremely difficult to form that checkout experience. For example, I want to have 41 on this color, 42 on white color, and 43 on cream color. It's really difficult to do that right here. Better way to do that is perhaps to go into checkout and click 3 of them and then change the colors there. That's much more simpler than to have all of it in the same screen in the same experience. So that's why this is going to go to default state, and now this is going to go to 42. This is going to go to 43. Once again, it's selected right here, so let me jump in there. So 43, 44, and this is going to go to 45. Now let's move on to the next one. So 42, basically the same story here. So this is going to go to 41, and if I select the 42, it's actually going to go to the default state. So you get the point. And let me use this one. So 43, 44, and 45, like that. And so you don't have to listen to my voice all no longer than you need. I'm going to turn up the music just a little bit and go ahead and finish all of these and come back to you in just a second. Okay, so there we go. Now that we animated all of them, we can go back to our default state, hit preview, just to see what we created so far. So once again, we can go back to here and we can scroll between all of our images. And then once we select this one, you can see, and when you click, it's going to turn those blank states into filled states. You can see it works a lot better than if it's just empty or if it's just outlined. And when you click on 41, you want to deselect it because you made an error, as I said, and you can go back to it. Final thing I'm going to do for today's live stream is to change these prices, and basically we're going to call it today because we're already at 47 minutes. And as I said, there are a lot of different animations because in the next live stream, I'm going to show you when you select this main shoe and when you select the color, for example, it has to update that color. So we have to include the different states right here for the main component. And then we have to basically add to cart. This icon is going to change right here. We are going to have the awesome animation for the button right here. We're going to have multiple states and also transitions between screens because we didn't connect anything. So basically, if we go back to here, if I fire this screen up and if I click on this one, nothing happens. So that's sorry, that's what we're going to do in the next live stream. But for today, I'm going to simply jump in right here and change these prices, and we are going to call it a day right here. So let me check. So we are going to be at design, double click, and 92 with 14 and 78. So the shoe is 78, shipping is 14, and total is 92. So basically that's it for this live stream. Once again, if you want to get this practice file, you can join my membership and you can get it there. But I'm going to call it a today success. Final thing which I'm going to do is actually change the color of our artboard. So to do that, I'm going to basically select my artboard. I'm going to come right here and let me see the original color which I use, F8, F8, F8. So F8 like this, just to make our text and boxes stand out a little bit better from the page than if we were just using this background just white. And I'm going to click right there. It's going to add all of these colors except this one. I'm going to remove it, so delete. And I'm going to click right here and click on my F8 color to apply it here. So you can see that the contrast is now much better than if it just was the white background. Cards stand out much better. These selectors stand out much better. So I think overall, it all looks a lot better than it did. So basically that's it for today's live stream. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Once again, make sure to check out my membership if you didn't already. And we are running in at 49 minutes already. Make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I really hope you enjoyed today's live stream. Sorry if I wasn't able to be live with you per se, but I'm live with you in the chat. And hopefully next week's finally live stream is going to actually be live and not pre-recorded like this one. So if you guys enjoyed it, once again, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Alex on Design. All of the links are going to be in the chat for everything which I mentioned today. So you can simply click on those links and access all of the resources which I mentioned, or you can join my membership. You can jump to my YouTube channel, or you can check out my private access to my Facebook group if you are in my membership. So once again, if you want to have this practice file, make sure to join my membership. I'm repeating myself all the time, but it's really important for some people to learn this way, to follow along with the practice files. Other people don't care. They can simply take whichever resources they found online and simply call it a day and work with those. So either way, thank you for watching on all of these platforms. Once again, YouTube, private Facebook group, and my Behance profile. Thank you to everybody, and I will see you next week when we are going to finish this design and add some awesome animations. Thank you and take care.